As a species, we've come a long way in terms of the places we live. For much of history, the focus was on providing basic shelter from the elements, with developments in architecture and technology gradually introducing concepts centered around comfort and well-being. This brief look into the modern history of healthy homes begins in 1806 with German physician Bernhard Christoph Faust, who outlines principles of health-oriented architecture and urban design in his book Sonnenbollehre, stating, "People should have free light, free air, free life from pole to pole." Throughout the 19th century, during industrialization, the need for a healthy indoor environment became apparent. Bear in mind that at that time, an estimated 100,000 to 120,000 people were dying of tuberculosis every year in Germany alone, and those most affected were the working classes, often living in overcrowded urban workers' districts. In 1858, German chemist Max Joseph von Petzenkofer examines CO2 levels in indoor spaces, concluding that indoor air quality becomes poor and potentially harmful above certain levels. Meanwhile, the pioneer of modern nursing, Florence Nightingale, considers sunlight to be a vital ingredient for a speedy recovery from illness. The sun's health benefits were also being recognized in the context of workers' housing. Ebenezer Howard described Garden Cities of Tomorrow. This was a model settlement which would resolve the issues of overcrowded housing whose lack of sanitation and poor ventilation often led to infectious, sometimes mortal diseases. At the beginning of the 20th century, Danish scientist Dr. Niels Finsen discovered that ultraviolet radiation could treat a form of previously incurable tuberculosis. Remember that there were still no antibiotics available at this time. His work earned him the Nobel Prize for Medicine, and, inspired by his findings, the physician Auguste Rollier goes on to found a sanatorium in Switzerland, the first of many, in which sunlight was used as a therapy. A 1921 study in New York also shows sunlight to be an effective treatment of rickets. 1923 saw an important manifesto of modern architecture published by the architect Le Corbusier. He states, "Every man today realizes the need of sun, of warmth, of pure air and clean floors." In 1927, the Weissenhof Siedlung was built as a model settlement showing how to utilize the sun, and other modernist model settlements based on the light, air and openness principle were to follow in cities around Europe. Meanwhile, over in Denmark, engineer Willem Rasmussen was working to perfect his sloping roof window with the idea of transforming dark attics into comfortable living space with daylight and fresh air. During the Second World War, Le Corbusier publishes the Athens Charter, proclaiming that society will no longer tolerate a situation where entire families are cut off from the sun and thus doomed to declining health. At the same time, experiments carried out in the UK and US demonstrate that sunlight is highly effective in killing the streptococci bacteria. In the 1970s, the oil crisis hit. This, along with growing environmental concern, led to a paradigm shift in architecture, with many European countries introducing legislation on energy efficiency, often at the expense of health considerations. Window sizes were generally reduced, while buildings became more airtight, often leading to inadequate ventilation. The term sick building syndrome is used for the first time in the mid-1980s. It describes a variety of commonplace symptoms such as infections and irritations, all attributed to poor indoor air quality in buildings. The 2002 discovery of a new type of cell in the eye shows for the first time how the natural cycles of light and dark have a stabilizing effect on our sleep-wake rhythms and provide many of the body's internal processes with essential time cues, vital to a healthy body and mind. So, the idea of healthy buildings and the importance of sunlight and fresh air is nothing new. At the VELUX Group, we believe that health and comfort must stand alongside energy efficiency if we are to improve the overall health and well-being of our planet as well as its inhabitants. To this end, over the last 10 years, VELUX has worked with partners to build and monitor 26 demo houses based on the active house principles, showing that the healthy buildings can exceed energy efficiency targets while also having tangible benefits for the health and well-being of their occupants. Our monitoring showed us that the experience of those living in houses is vital in informing home innovation, and as a result, we have carried out 2 pan-European healthy homes barometer studies to examine the relationship between home and health. And in 2016, we launched the RenovActive concept house in Brussels, showing that active house principles of comfort, good indoor climate, and energy efficiency can be applied to affordable and healthy renovations. Welcome to Healthy Buildings Day.